Hello, my name is Christina Nussbaum. I'm Chief Revenue Officer here at YWCA Northeast Indiana. By now you've probably noticed we used the word persimmon in a few of our initiatives. We had Power of Persimmon and now Dash of Persimmon, and we even have Persimmon Pride, which is our cultural mantra here at YWCA Northeast Indiana. So what does persimmon represent? It's like, do we love the fruit? Of course we do, but it really is the orange Pantone color of our brand. So when you hear the word or read the word persimmon, persimmon represents YWCA Northeast Indiana. So let me talk to you today about Dash of Persimmon, our newest initiative. The Dash and Dash of Persimmon represents the here and now. So what we do for the individuals that we serve is we help them, take them from some point in the past. They've endured addiction, domestic violence, or sexual abuse. We help them with our services in the here and now to move them from the past to a future that's a healthier future for them. So for the individuals that we serve, the Dash represents the YWCA Northeast Indiana. So what is Dash of Persimmon? Dash of Persimmon is going to bring to you several episodes. There's going to be one a month in which we highlight knowledge brought to you by various different experts throughout our community. And they'll speak on a variety of different topics, but what we hope is the information provided in Dash of Persimmon will help move some individuals from the past to the healthier future, and it will provide you with just a greater knowledge of information on that topic. So we hope that Dash of Persimmon will sweeten your cup.
Hi, I'm Leslie Friedel. I'm the CEO at Stillwater Hospice, which is formerly Visiting Nurse. We currently are a nonprofit organization serving 11 counties in Northeast Indiana. We serve in the ways of palliative care, grief support, and hospice care. So anybody that's facing an end of life, life-limiting illness, or have experienced the loss of a loved one. What I see facing caregivers and loved ones of individuals that we're serving is the complete burnout or the stress of dealing with the pandemic. So what we saw over the last 2 years is that people really were sheltering in place, and that means that all these life-limiting illnesses, diagnoses that were getting made, and all of the transitions through the medical system were all happening in a time where people couldn't connect with others. So the isolation of being given this diagnosis and being isolated as being in your home and not being able to, through the stay-at-home order, to stay in your home and not connect with friends and family as much as you would like, that really took a toll on not only our family caregivers that are taking care of the patients we're serving, but also on our professional caregivers. The isolation, the inability to connect with others just really formed a lot of loneliness, which is leading to depression and anxiety. And one of the things we recognize that people maybe didn't realize is that through our grief support program, we're seeing a lot of those that have been affected by COVID. And not necessarily that they had lost someone necessarily due to COVID, but perhaps that their family member was in the hospital and passed away from COVID when they couldn't go in and visit them. So the unresolved grief that's coming from those losses, and we're just seeing a high number of those people reaching out for help. Caregiver burnout is a real thing. Understanding that people are doing this work day in and out, this work doesn't go away. We're really there to support the families from a professional side, so our caregivers are going in and dealing with some of the worst times of these families' lives. So they're walking alongside them through the loss of a loved one, but then after the loss of a loved one. And the burnout, the stress that comes along with that, the compassion fatigue, we talk about that a lot, of how people are impacted by this long after the losses that are happening. And as the family caregivers that are taking care of people that have been diagnosed with a life-limiting illness or have recently lost a loved one, it's an interesting time because you spend that time, it's a chaotic journey. So you're going for medical appointments, you're going and you find out finally what the diagnosis is, and then you're in a moment where you're deciding, am I going to continue treatment or am I going to take life at its normal course? And what you find is that through all that chaos, you're just moving along and taking the steps to do what you need to do to help your loved one or the patient themselves But what we find is then after they lose the loved one, that there's just this moment of loneliness or purpose. They've lost the purpose. This purpose has been to take care of this loved one. And so, just re-identifying how do people re-engage into their life and what does that look like? And it's different for every person. During the pandemic, we recognized quickly that people didn't have access to the resources they needed for grief support. So I'll talk first about that. In grief support, we realized that we were putting sometimes the caregivers of maybe other family members, bringing them into the center, would put them at risk for maybe getting exposed and then having to go back into this life where they couldn't tolerate more isolation, right? So we really felt that it was important to introduce the concept of telehealth. So when we started doing grief counseling sessions by telehealth, we had a reach all over the country, which was incredible. People were hungry to get this help and get this support and get the resources they needed for health or for their mental health. And we also saw that we started to put together some of these webinar type things. At this point, people are all familiar about logging on and watching a webinar, but we really wanted to be able to serve healthcare workers, family members across the country, and we had people from all over the country logging in to learn about how to support somebody that had been experiencing loss during this time. Funerals were different, so people weren't able to gather together and experience memorializing a family member that had passed away because of that. So we were really recognizing that grief work was important and that if we could reach more people through the grief center, that we felt like we could really make an impact on those lives. For our staff, caregiver burnout and how and resources that we have for our staff, we really recognize the importance of time off and trying to build in some connectedness during a time that we couldn't maybe necessarily get together. So since we felt things would lighten up a little bit and we're able to get back together, we've really recognized that relationships are the antidote to burnout. We have to get people together and we have to make those moments that create opportunities for connectedness, because they may go home at night and have a spouse that doesn't fully understand what their day looks like. They're dealing with really difficult things, but their coworkers do, and they can really support each other. I often encourage staff members, every time a new employee starts, I say, I encourage you to take care of each other as much as you're taking care of our people, our patients that we're serving, because our work is tough. We offer an opportunity for our staff members to take wellness days. They're days that they can call in and just say, I'm not feeling it today. I experienced this loss yesterday. I can't do this another day. And they can have the opportunity to step back from their work and to get the time that they need to kind of regroup, take the time to reflect on what's going on in their lives. And we think those days are super important. One thing I think we all need to recognize is that mental health doesn't go away when you clock in at the door. It's impossible to leave your stuff at the door and walk in and work a full day, and no matter what kind of work you're doing. Work is stressful, lives are stressful, and people that are dealing with mental health concerns are no different than, you don't know that. It's not something that they're wearing on their sleeve to say, I am struggling today. I have been struggling for months or years with depression or anxiety. And we know that 48% of all people over the age of 50 are dealing with a severe mental health concern. And so we don't know when somebody's walking in what that looks like. And so I really just say that having these relationships may be one of the most important things that a supervisor can have with their staff, or a coworker can reach out and say, how are you doing, and try to support along the way. Empathy and compassion go a long way.